All right, guys, happy Monday. I'm sorry that I'm running 7 minutes late. You guys are killing me right now on the live chat. I'm so sorry. Anyways, topics today are going to be great. First and foremost, the mass deportations of illegals is reaching peak comedy right now in the United States of America. We have Selena Gomez crying on Instagram. Trump fans are celebrating, and the president of Colombia, in response to what is going on, has called Trump a white slaver. So I'm confused. Also, I did an Instagram live over the weekend about Justin Baldoni. It went very viral. I told you last week we are completely done with that story. I lied. Welcome back to Candace. Let me know. All right, guys, we are going to start with Selena Gomez because it's funny and we all need to have some funny on a Monday. First and foremost, the backstory of all of this leading to this moment. Obviously, we are all following this. It's hard to avoid in the news. Essentially, I know some of you guys disagree with me politically, but Trump is in fact delivering on the mandate to round up illegals. And I also want to say at the top of this, I like Selena Gomez. I was a huge Wizards of Waverly Place stan. I'm happy for her that she has found love again and is getting married to Benny Blanco, I think his name is. So I'm not a Selena Gomez hater. I think it's a little annoying that she's always like, I have needed a social media break every 2 weeks. And I also don't think she's the greatest singer. I prefer her as an actress, but all around, like, I'm rooting for her. I want things to be good for her, like I do for all of these child actors that seem to go off course. But yes, Trump, one of the mandates, one of the reasons that we did vote for him was to round up illegals, adios amigos, au revoir Haitians. It is what it is. And it is, in fact, exactly what we wanted. I'm sorry. I cannot sugarcoat that for you guys. I can't lie to you. We are tired of the crimes that shouldn't be happening, first and foremost. Like, there's nothing more infuriating than turning on the news and learning that some young girl, college student, lost her life and was killed by someone who shouldn't be here. There's nothing more infuriating than having to pay taxes and learning that the taxes that you don't want to be paying are going to people that are not citizens of this country. Okay, so anyways, we've been seeing the footage nonstop of criminals getting rounded up immediately. Trump got to work. And the best part of this, by the way, is that we are learning their rap sheets. And we are learning that these individuals are child rapists. Our federal government knew where these child rapists were living. And essentially, the Biden admin told them, you're not allowed to round them up. Okay, I guess I don't know what this is a part of. We're accepting, we're loving. They knew where these criminals were. And it took Trump getting into office and Tom Homan devising a plan to start rounding them up. It is mind-boggling. And what is incredible is that when we see them rounded up and they're caught on camera for these ride-alongs and they're asked questions, they're rude. They're confident. They're angry that, that Trump's in office and they're talking trash, zero respect for the law, and they want us to know how little they respect the law. Take, for example, this Haitian migrant. This was caught in a Fox News ride-along. Incredible rap sheet. Truly such a criminal. Watch this clip from Fox News, which took place, by the way, this roundup in Boston.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
So again, for the people who have different politics from me that watch this show, maybe just for the culture element, when you hear that, when you hear someone that has a rap sheet and has 17 crimes have been committed, right? 17 in this country. And we are talking about violent crimes that have been committed. And he's just like, thank you, Biden. I love you and I hate Trump. How does that actually make you feel? Seriously, does it make you convert a little bit in your mind? Maybe we'll get you there. Anyways, this is what we were expecting. What we were also expecting was the emotional side of the argument, because immediately when Trump's in office, then we start being told, what about the children? These families, we're breaking up families. That guy right there, he might be a felon, but he's also a father. That seems to be the argument that I at least see being made all the time this year, breaking up families. And look at this child crying for his mommy or his daddy. And that argument in particular drives me insane because for years, it's, guys, that's what happens when you break the law. Doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or you're not a citizen. If you break the law, Okay. Let's say you're just a random guy who shoots someone. You go to prison. You get separated from your family. That's a consequence. Actions sometimes have to meet their consequences. And, that's on the parent to not do that to their child, not for society to say, well, I know he killed 10 people, but we're not going to put him in prison because how unfair would it be for their child? I mean, that's nuts, right? And so you have these sappy arguments, and I will say that they do not work on me in particular when I am as pregnant as I am at this moment, but they do always seem to find a home in Hollywood. Celebrities love a good sappy argument. They are incredible at being emotionally swayed. They are the best, very easily emotionally swayed. Apparently not when illegal murders a young woman like Laken Riley, but definitively when they start hearing that families are being separated. So Selena Gomez, okay, she hopped up onto Instagram and she started crying about the mass deportations of Mexicans, presumably because she's Mexican. And so she felt compelled. I'm sure maybe she was getting pressure from people in the comments that were saying, you're Mexican, so you have to take a stance on this and say that it's wrong for people to have to face any consequences for breaking the law. And so she did that. She obliged and she started crying on her Instagram page. We're going to roll that clip for you right now.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
I'm not laughing, you're laughing. And so first and foremost, it's funny first of all, she put a little Mexican flag, something like, I don't know. Everybody loves a flag during debates, like a Ukrainian flag, an Israel flag, and now we got a Mexican flag. And she's just trying to relate to the people but this comment, I was in stitches. This user just wrote underneath that, he's like, girl, he used the B word, B-I-T-C-H, can barely even pretend to speak Spanish. And yeah, here she is just relating to the amigos. And there's another reason why it's also funny. And so I want you to love with me, irrespective of what you think, even if you're on the left and you just love the idea of, I don't know, mass illegal immigration, you have to acknowledge that celebrities in general, their solution to problems are funny because regular people, it's knowing that she set up her phone to cry that really gets me because it disturbs me. It's like what I said last week. Celebrities don't know they're insane, right? They don't know. I don't know how much money has to be in your bank account before you trip over into the insanity. I don't know how much money you have to have before you start sending text messages about being Daenerys Targaryen and having little monster dragons. I need to know what that number is that hits in your account where then you're like, I'm just crazy. But I guess they're called eccentric because rich people are called eccentric, poor people are called crazy. But that level where they get to eccentric, where it's picturing her setting up for that makes me laugh, right? So you have a feeling coming on. Imagine you in your life, something happens, I don't know, you start crying hysterically, nobody grabs their cell phone. Think about the steps there, right? Oh, I'm sad. I open my Instagram. My life. I'm so sorry. My life, is it going? Okay, it's live. That's it. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. It's weird. It's the moment of consciousness that is weird for me, that you're thinking about your family. It tells me you're not really sad because when you cry and you're actually super upset about something, the last thing you're thinking about is social media. You're not trying to capture social media. So this only works if you're being filmed. If you're on a reality TV show and then you're being filmed and so somebody captures you crying, then I might be like, oh, that's actually really sad. Kylie Jenner's crying, obviously doesn't want the production around to capture this, but she's her own producer. She's her own videographer and she's crying. So I think it's weird and I think it's funny and I think it's okay for us to objectively embrace the fact that Selena Gomez crying on Instagram is funny. And we have to tell them that it's funny and it's weird so they stop being weird and funny in that way. So anyways, just wanted to show you that. Selena, no hard feelings. Seriously, I hope you have an amazing wedding, but it's a little annoying that you did that. So on top of that, and this is also hilarious, if we missed it over the weekend, was this battle of the who's the tough guy between the Colombian president and Trump. Okay, so this is the Colombian president. He's funny for a lot of reasons. We're going to get into that. But essentially, part of rounding up these people is we're going, okay, where are you from? You're from Colombia. You got to go back to Colombia. Okay, I'm sorry, hombre. And so Trump gets a military plane together and he sends all of these illegals to Colombia. And guess what? The president, that Mr. Gustavo Petro is his name, posts on X that he barred U.S. planes that were carrying Colombian migrants, so these are his citizens, from entering the territory because, quote, the U.S. can't treat Colombian migrants like criminals. Okay. He then demanded, so that flight had to divert to Costa Rica. He then demanded that the U.S. put procedures in place for migrants to be, quote unquote, treated with dignity. Okay. And this is weird because last year they accepted deportation flights. There were 124 planes that came from the U.S. and landed into Colombia. But President Petro said that his problem was that these deportees were on military planes rather than civilian flights. And he didn't like the way that the migrants may have been treated, which is a bizarre thing to say on the military flights. Like nobody's punching them in the face. They're just on military flights. But in his posts on X, he referenced videos that were showing the migrants and they were handcuffs and they also had their feet restrained. So I'm going to show you that footage here. And for those of you that are listening on audio, you just see a bunch of, it's not families, it's grown adult Colombian men. And they're all walking and they have their feet shackled, which you can see. Maybe you can't see from this angle, but you'll see it as we keep going on. Their feet are shackled and their hands are shackled. And so this is what has upset the president. He's like, this is inhumane. Why are their hands shackled? And this might also be what Selena Gomez doesn't understand. She doesn't understand, she says, like, why are their hands shackled? So let me help you both. Because they broke the law, okay? I don't know if it's like a foreign concept, arresting. What happens when you get arrested? Your hands get shackled. So you are free once they land into your country, sir, to say, I don't think this is a high crime, and to ask for the keys, and we're free. You can release them wherever you want. Release them to the forests of Colombia. They can do whatever it is you want. The playas de Colombia, okay? Colombianas. That's fine. They just can't be in our country because they broke the law. And it's tremendous to me as someone who married an immigrant, okay, to go through the process legally. I'm just stunned. Do you guys not know, like Selena crying, Colombian president, did you not know there's an option to come into this country legally? That's I don't know, that just completely seems crazy. Like the only way that you can get in is through the southern border and by breaking the law. Because that's not a reality. And the people that go through the process like I do, and it takes years, it just frustrates me when they are signaling to us that the years that we spent, the paperwork, the interviews that my husband and I have had to do, and they get to just go, well, we snuck in. And so now we want the rights and we want free handouts and we want welfare benefits. And that's what we got under President Biden. Anyways, so going back to this, narrative where the Colombian president, Petro, decides to divert the plane. He's like, I'm a tough guy. Well, it turns out Trump then, this all happened on Sunday, hits Truth Social and on X and basically says, you want to play tough guy? Here's what I'm going to do. He writes, I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and the public safety of the United States. So I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. 1, emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. So let me tell you why that's really relevant before I read the rest of these. Guess what the number one thing that Colombia exports to the United States? Roses. They're huge flower exporters, okay? And Valentine's Day is coming up. So this is the time where they just inundate us with their number one product. And now Trump's like, okay, you want to play tough guy? Well, guess what? We're going to add a 25% tax, and then it's going to go up to 50% a tariff on you sending all of this stuff in. Going back to his list, he says a travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all of their allies and supporters. Visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Enhanced custom and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. And IEEPA Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. So he's just not playing around. And instantly, okay, first the president of Colombia, Petro, responds and says, this is all happening on X, by the way, which is amazing. He writes, "Your blockade does not scare me because Colombia, besides being the country of beauty, is the heart of the world." He writes back poetry. He writes back attempted poetry to Trump saying, like, you're going to pay for this financially. But then what happened was behind the scenes, Petro's administration immediately folded, okay? In a late night news conference, the foreign minister, Luis Murillo, announced that the two countries had overcome the impasse and that Colombia would accept their returned citizens. Okay. But to make the president feel good, he said he's gonna send the presidential plane. Essentially, the Colombian Air Force One to pick them up. Buddy, if you want to send your Air Force One back and forth to pick up the illegals, we are totally cool with that. Like, this is not a problem for us at all. And so that's what's happening. Trump won. It was a 24-hour standoff. And this is what it means to have a leader at the forefront of the country, not someone who's just bending over and saying, okay, well, we'll do whatever it is that you want. And so the only thing that Petro had left was name calling. So he called Trump on X a white slaver. And so he really wrote this on X. He wrote, "I don't want slavers next to Colombia. We already had many and we freed ourselves. You don't like our freedom? Okay. I don't shake hands with white slavers." Ooh, okay, tough guy. We get it. And I would be careful going around name calling, because this is a random fun fact you should probably know about the Colombian president. And that fun fact is that he got caught with a transgendered woman. Yeah, this is a real headline. Married Colombian President Gustavo Petro says he's not gay after he is seen in Panama with trans woman Linda Yeeps. And so this is the video of him walking with, I don't want to be in trouble for misgendering on YouTube. He's walking with Linda, got caught, folded, and just wanted to reiterate to the public. And so since I'm a supporter of him and his beautiful country, I will reiterate what he said. He's not gay, guys. You're just transphobic. And that's literally what he said to the press. He's not gay. You're just transphobic. And I want to remind all of you guys that is the reality. I don't know what the heck is going on in the world, but I'll tell you one thing, you guys, I am having a lot of fun. Okay, before we get into this deep dive of the Blake Live with Justin Baldoni, guys, I've even created a timeline, okay? I first want to remind you that today's episode is sponsored by Momentous, okay? When the goal is our health and being able to live better for longer, there are a few non-negotiables. One of them is quality. And when it comes to supplements geared toward high performers, no one does it quite like Momentous. They invest in an NSF certification, meaning that every batch is tested for heavy metals, harmful additives, and label claim accuracy. Momentous is trusted by all 32 NFL teams and collegiate dietitians all over the country. Momentous believes in nailing the basics with bone-crushing consistency, then curating a routine based on your individual goals. And by basics, they mean protein and creatine. Momentous sources CreaPure, which is the purest form of creatine that you can have. It's creatine monohydrate available, and it's an absolute must for peak physical and cognitive performance for both men and women. So try them today by visiting livemomentous.com and get 20% off with code Candace. Again, that's livemomentous.com with promo code Candace. Okay, so I am obviously caught. I mean, this is crazy. Somebody tweeted Candace Owens makes time to go after the president of France while doing a deep dive on Justin Baldoni. This girl is unhinged and I love it. Pregnancy be like that, you guys. So to remind you of why, because a lot of people ask, why are you invested in this story? I have been a critic, a reporter, and an obsessive when it comes to the Me Too movement since its very inception. Since Kesha was caught crying in the back of the courtroom in 2015. So it's not about Hollywood to me. It's about the idea that a woman can make an allegation and a man can lose everything. It doesn't sit well with me because I have now 3 sons, okay? 1 still in the oven, Two that are out and running around. I can't deal with the world where women can just go, oops, he did this, and they lose everything. I just can't do it, right? So when I see these stories and I just start looking behind and peeling the layers of the onion, I'm like, okay, I just get quite obsessive. It is true. And so what I did over the weekend, I did this live, is literally I woke up and had 3.5 million views telling people that I was getting all this information about what went down behind the scenes. And we were getting closer and closer to what appears to be the truer narrative, which is that at some point, Blake and Justin got a little too flirty. Blake had feelings. Ryan Reynolds allegedly went psychotic. So what I've done today for you guys is I've actually built out a timeline. I will share this on Instagram after the show because the timeline really makes it clear that something very much happened when Ryan Reynolds came home because of the SAG-AFTRA strike that took place in July of 2023. And whatever happened when he came home, he starts paying attention at the same time. So it ends with us, okay? And Deadpool and Wolverine were filming at the same time. So Ryan was away from home because Deadpool was filming in Canada and England. I know way too much about this. And Blake Lively was home because It Ends With Us was filming in New Jersey and she lives in New York. So that would have been like a cab ride back and forth. So they were away from each other at the beginning of this filming. And then about 6 months in is when the Writers Guild Association strike happened and the SAG-AFTRA strike happened and production got shut down. You vaguely remember this. Maybe you're not, I know nothing about Hollywood either, but I do remember that there was like this huge shutdown where like writers couldn't write and every production, they just had to stop. And so then Ryan came home, okay? So I'm giving you the background of the story. So you should just know that for Justin Baldoni, he has been involved in this story, telling this story of Colleen Hoover's book, It Ends With Us, since 2019. 2019 is the year that Wayfarer Studios acquired It Ends With Us, okay? And he was ecstatic about this. He spent so much time meeting in groups with women, trying to learn why they loved the book. He wanted to make sure that if he told the story, it was from a female gaze. I am telling you, this dude, it is something that brings the left and the right together, because the fact that I am defending him after going through his Instagram, like this is the opposite of someone that I would typically defend, but justice is justice. And this man he's like a hyper feminist. Everything he posts is about like trying to get rid of his toxic masculinity. He wrote this book called Man Enough, where he talks about like going and dealing with like your inner childhood trauma. And I am looking through his, like he posts for Trans Visibility Day, but he's one of these rare people. And I say rare because I believe the majority of people in Hollywood, just so you guys on the left know what we on the right believe, is that they virtue signal. We believe the majority of them are Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And the rare bird person is Justin Baldoni, who really believes these things and has internalized these things and is truly a male feminist, as he is. But his timeline, and it tells me that it is not a joke to him. So he wanted to bring this film alive and had been working on it since 2019 when he acquired the rights of it, okay? So let's get to 2023, okay? January of 2023, Deadpool and Wolverine begins filming in Vancouver and also in Atlanta. Remember, Blake Lively and Ryan live in New York. And then eventually that filming gets suspended because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes. And that means that no one films again until November of that year. So January, also, as I mentioned, It Ends With Us begins filming. And then for the first 6 months, everything is apparently going great between Justin and Blake. She's being a little like giving too much of her advice about ways that she might change lines or like, should we do this, blah, blah, blah. But they're working together, and his lawsuit spells out that they were like laughing until 4 a.m. in the morning together. And in June of 2023, this is really important, things are so great between Justin and Blake that she invites him to her penthouse. He holds her newish born baby. I'm saying newish. I think she had the baby maybe like the December before. Holds the baby. She takes a picture of Justin Baldoni holding her baby. And also in June of 2023, she invites him into her trailer while she was breastfeeding, okay? She's like pumping in my trailer. This is June 3rd, if you want to work out our line. So he's in there in her trailer, and she is pumping. I shouldn't say breastfeeding. She's breast pumping in her trailer. And this is according to Justin's lawsuit, and he presented this evidence. So this is a fact, essentially. Nothing was wrong between Justin and Blake. You don't invite someone who sexually assaults you into your trailer alone while your boobs are out. Can we all agree on that just sensibly? Like, hey, if I feel creepy about a guy, maybe when I have my boobs out, I'm not going to invite him into the trailer, okay? Suddenly, just a few days after that, on June 14th, is when the Writers Guild of America begins picketing and they halt production. And Justin's lawsuit notes that it was during that lead up to the strike, the big strike, which happened in July 2023, that for the first time, Blake begins requesting to see the dailies. So it was an outrageous request, completely unorthodox, okay, for her as an actress and a producer to be requesting to see the dailies. So like, she's home now. So from this time in June until this strike ends, she is now home, but also Ryan Reynolds is home, okay? Because now he's being sent home because of that SAG-AFTRA strike, which begins officially in July. So look at this email that she sends, and then I'm gonna show you the second one that she sends, which is even crazier. On July, pull up the July one here, July 19th, okay? She sends this email, and I am telling you, I read this email, and I don't feel like she sent this. Okay, this is on July 19th, a demand to see all of the dailies. Ryan's home. She just had her boobs out in the trailer in June. Everything's good. All of a sudden, she writes this email. It sounds strangely formal for someone who had her boobs out just last month, okay? It says, hey, I hope you and your family are well. This is to Justin. I watched the selects you sent. So great. I was so happy and energized. Such solid work from everyone on and off camera. It was really cool to see. We were working so quickly, there was never the time to look back, so it was nice to revisit from an audience's perspective. Please let me know who to reach out to get access to the full gallery of dailies. I'm so looking forward to seeing all we have in the can, and of course, any scenes you cut together, I'd love to see. Hope you're having a good summer, and hopefully a good edit. Will your assembly be done soon? X. I don't know why that email scares me. I don't know. I feel, and I obviously have no idea, but I feel Ryan said, get me all the dailies. And what's weird about that, because I know I just learned this word, just learned this like cool production term, dailies. It means all of the footage. There is no way that you want to see all of the raw footage. Why would you want to see all of the raw footage unless you wanted to see what was happening outside of the script or wanting to see like the downtime and what's going on set? Like, it's a weird request. She's not saying like, send me the 3 edits or the 3 takes. She just wants the running. Do you know how much time it takes? Like, that's an editor's nightmare, okay? An editor's nightmare is having to cut off all the random conversations people are having on set before they say 1, 2, 3, cut, you know, whatever it is. It's just hours and hours and hours and hours of footage. Blake has 4 kids and she's breastfeeding and breast pumping. You're telling me she wanted to see all the dailies? No. Ryan Reynolds came home and maybe, here's me, I'm speculating here, okay? Maybe he looked at his cameras at home. Maybe he saw Justin was there. Maybe he overheard a conversation. You know, a lot of people now are getting caught on these like Nest cameras that are facing outside. Maybe they're on the deck. I don't know. I would imagine they've got a pretty tight security system. And men love security systems. My husband thinks it's funny. He'll like send me a text if he's like out in London and be like, was your order of Chipotle good? And I'm like, oh, I forgot that we had a camera there, right? Just let me know that he's watching because men love tech, right? So maybe this is what happened. Maybe he came home, saw that Justin was at their house, saw that they were there until a later time, saw that she was laughing, and suddenly he's like, I want to see all these dailies. This is what my gut feeling tells me because there's no way you go from boobs out in the trailer to suddenly like, hi, hello, formal email. Can I see every bit and every minute of the footage? Weird, okay? Weird. So that's July 19th, 2023. The week after, Ryan Reynolds writes a birthday post on Instagram to Sandra Bullock. And here's what he says, okay? 1 week later. Happy birthday to my inimitable and stunning Sandra Bullock. For your birthday this year, I got us both intimacy coordinators and an HR department and clothing? ? Oh, guys, that is not subtle. That is not subtle. Ryan and Blake are arguing very clearly because Ryan turns everything into a funny skit, right? He's a scary guy. He's a very scary man, this Ryan Reynolds. I'm telling you, the anger bubbles under the surface. He's on Instagram and he's like, hey, happy birthday, Sandra Bullock. And Sandra Bullock's probably like, what? I got you an intimacy coordinator. Why would you say that to Sandra Bullock? Why are you saying that to her at all? And HR department, what's going on, man? Okay, Ryan is home and he's angry. This is me. Allegedly, don't sue me, okay? Do not sue me, Ryan Reynolds. I don't have time for your crap, okay? But I'm watching the timeline and I'm seeing now this is the first time we actually can see in the public sphere in 2023 that we hear about an intimacy coordinator, okay? Fast forward to November of that year, and now the SAG-AFTRA strike has lifted. And Deadpool is now beginning to resume filming. Okay, so now Ryan has got to go back to Canada, England, Atlanta. He's going to be out of the house again. Well, guess what? According to Justin's lawsuit, on November 9th, right before Ryan leaves, okay, or right the same day, who knows what day in November he left to go start the filming, but filming has now been resumed, Blake Lively's lawyer shocks them and sends an email of 17 points of demands for her to resume filming, or she's just not coming back. Basically, like, you guys need to agree to these 17 points or Blake Lively is just not coming back to film. They're shocked by this. They're like, what on earth is going on? Everything was going good. She had her boobs out in the trailer breastfeeding. Now all of a sudden you're like implying here that like there's something wrong. I'm going to show you the email that her lawyer sent. So this is not Blake. This is her lawyer sent, which could have been instructed by Ryan. They're having an argument. And I think Blake's going like, no, I didn't want to blah, blah, blah. And so they are saying that they reserve their legal rights, and buried in this are 17 demands that don't make sense to them. She's asking for an intimacy coordinator. We're going to learn through Justin's lawsuit that he already gave her an intimacy coordinator, and she refused to meet with them. He did back in May and April. Justin Baldoni met with intimacy. She didn't care because I think they were getting a little flirty on set. I think that's what was going on. And so she's saying to her husband, like, I'm telling you guys, this is a fight. This is a fight that's happening. And she is playing like stupid because he's getting angry and he's asking to now see the script. He wants to see the dailies, but a sudden legal and there was not a single issue. And now you're sending 17 steps of demands that they said were redundant. For example, they mentioned in this lawsuit about nudity scenes. And, it would be inappropriate for her to shoot nudity scenes. They had not shot, according to Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, which he provided evidence for, they hadn't shot one. It's just like Ryan going crazy. I think this is Ryan going crazy, okay? So they basically have to put everything on ice. We're in November now. Deadpool guy has got to go back to film. And then they say, before we return to filming, not only do you have to agree to these 17 demands, and the lawyers, as in Justin Baldoni's and Wayfarer Studios, wrote back and were like, these demands don't even make sense. We'll agree to this, but be aware that none of this makes any sense. And they wrote down, which Blake Lively did not include in her complaint, they wrote down why none of them made sense and provided proof for why it didn't make any sense. Then they say, well, and before we even get back to set, we need to have an all hands on deck meeting, okay? So this brings us to January. So Justin and Blake have not seen each other. Okay, suddenly they get this letter. They're like, what's going on? And like they showed these text messages where Justin Baldoni is like, guys, we just need to suck it up. Like, we have all of these people who have not been getting paid because the strike has been so long. We need to bring this movie over the finish line. Like, let's just like do what we have to do to make this work. We've already filmed all of this. We've been filming from January to June, and we just need to get this over the finish line. So now they have an all hands on deck meeting where Blake Lively elects to bring with her, says she has within her rights to bring with her a representative. Guess who the representative was? On January 4th, 2024, according to Blake Lively's complaint, Ryan was her representative. And so the first time she sees them again, Ryan invites these people to his house, okay, their Tribeca, whatever it is, apartment, penthouse. And this is him, alpha male, you're going to be in my territory now. And Justin Baldoni writes in his complaint what then happened. So I'm going to show you that. January 4th, 2024. Lively brought Reynolds as her chosen representative. She notably did not request any attendees from the Screen Actors Guild. Together, Reynolds and Lively blindsided the rest of the group with a list of grievances read aloud by Lively that were as troubling as they were fictional. Reynolds then launched into an aggressive tirade berating Baldoni in what Baldoni later described as a traumatic encounter. As Baldoni later said, he had never been spoken to like that in his life. Reynolds demanded that Baldoni apologize to Lively for actions that had either never happened or had been grossly mischaracterized. Baldoni resisted apologizing for things that he had not done, which further enraged Reynolds. Everyone, including the producer that Lively had asked the production to engage and the Sony representative, left the meeting in shock. The producer said that in his 40-year career, he had never seen anyone speak to someone like that in a meeting. The Sony representative said later that she often thought of the meeting and her one regret was not intervening to stop Reynolds' tirade against Baldoni. You guys are getting what's happening here. Ryan's going nuts. Blake Lively's lying because Ryan's going nuts. Whatever he saw that set him off, that made him, and I'm saying him, request the dailies in that email, he's basically saying she's not coming back to set unless these demands are agreed to. And this gets to like, you know, I don't want anybody riffing. I don't want this. I want to rewrite scenes. I mean, and then what happens is they agree to all this crazy stuff, you know, and they never signed anything, but basically like had this meeting, were shocked. They get back to set. And like I said, all the text messages between Justin and the team show that he's just like, we have to do this for the team. We need to get this over the finish line. But later that month in January 2024, Ryan, still obviously very angry, decides to include some last-minute nice pool scenes. This is according to the Hollywood Reporter, not me. Hollywood Reporter claims the nice pool scenes were shot in the final days of the principal photography. This is a direct quote from the Hollywood Reporter article. You can see at the end there, it says, "It was all added post-strike," says one knowledgeable source of the shooting schedule who says the scenes were filmed in the final days of the principal photography, which wrapped up in January of 2024. So Ryan is still very angry. He's like psycho angry, and he starts writing Justin Baldoni into the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie, which is going to air in 6 months, right? And we've showed you that scene, but I guess I'm just going to show it to you guys again, but then tell you another scene I forgot to tell you about. This is the scene where he's just mocking Justin Baldoni.
My blind, elderly, African-American roommate, Blind Al, always says that pain teaches us who we are. Sometimes we need to listen to that pain instead of running from it.
Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool.
And I guess you're Deadpool, too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool.
Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell.
I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist.
Right.
And I guess you've already met Mary Poppins, a.k.a. Dog Pool. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second, and she starts shopping for a new papa.
You better hope that you don't run into the Deadpool core. Yeah, they're crazy. They will chop you up into 1,000 pieces and hide you all over the void. If they could only process their childhood trauma, they'd go on one heck of a healing journey.
Okay, so think about what is being said there. Okay, in this rewrite of the scene, the dog, the B-I-T-C-H, is clearly, in my view, supposed to be Blake. You let her out of your second for 1 second. You let her out of your sight for 1 second, he says, and she goes looking for another papa. You're going to hear him say that again in another skit that I'll show you for the It Ends With Us movie. But he's essentially the entire setup there, because I watched it with my producer today, is Nice Pool and Deadpool are fighting over the dog. Okay, and on top of that, which I forgot to send to my producer, you're gonna have to let me look this up in my photos real quick. He tweets around the same time, okay, about, we didn't pull that right, Skylar? About the dog, which is like totally insane. I think I have it here. I'm gonna try to find it. But Ryan Reynolds then sends a tweet where he says that the dog is his intimacy coordinator. He tweets that. He actually says, this is my, like, Dog Pool is my intimacy coordinator. So he's just outwardly bullying Justin Baldoni. And to give you the reference of why he's saying what he is saying there about finding your inner self, Justin Baldoni, like I said, I went through his Instagram. He had some injuries, some serious back injuries, and then was saying that he thought some of the injuries were psychosomatic. He went on this journey down to Colombia, and he spoke a lot about having to address, as his book does, his inner child, right? So he's very into spiritualism, and we're going to talk about that later in another promotion. Very into spiritualism. He's very into like inner healing, but also doing work to heal your inner child. And he has spoken extensively about how he feels that he was traumatized when he was a child, when someone introduced him to pornography before he was ready to be introduced to pornography, tons of stuff, and has done that work and does all this breath work. And so that stereotype, and by the way, if you're not a Justin Baldoni fan, I certainly was not and am not. Before this movie It Ends With Us, Justin Baldoni had his hair exactly like that. So he is like that West Village stereotype of, you know, a guy who's very into health and breathing work. And so that's his brand. So he just goes outright angrily mocking him. The part that I forgot to tell you was that at the end of the movie, Blake Lively makes an appearance. And it wasn't actually Blake Lively in the scene, but she did the voiceover for Lady Pool, and she shows up. And this is a shocking level of bullying, okay? At the end of the movie, as he's battling it out with Nice Pool, who he adds to this movie at the very end, or adds these lines at the very end, Blake Lively's character, Lady Pool, shoots Nice Pool dead. And I'm talking like, it's an overkill scene. Like basically Ryan Reynolds is holding up Nice Pool, the guy with the bun in the hair, and she shoots him like 100 times, and he just keeps holding him up in front and just lets him get shot in front of Sage Flower Shop. Okay, so we're showing you a still here. that is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool holding Nice Pool, and Blake Lively's character is just meant to shoot him over and over again. I want to be clear, Blake Lively was not there on set, so she may not have seen or heard these lines, and he's just venting his frustration, and now what reflectively is a very terrifying, scary way. Basically fantasizing about murdering Justin Baldoni is the best way to look at this, and that's why Justin Baldoni has included Disney and sent them a preservation order in this lawsuit, because he's like, this is not by accident. But bring that up again. So his death happens in front of a flower shop. It says flowers and gifts, and it's called Little Sage. Even that is Ryan Reynolds venting his anger, because the flower shop is what Lily Bloom, the character that Blake Lively plays in It Ends With Us, that's where she works. She works at a flower shop. She's named after flowers, Lily Bloom. And the sage is a part of the lawsuit, the complaint that Blake Lively filed, which I believe was guided by Ryan Reynolds as well, where she says on point like 22 of her complaint that he has to stop saging employees, like apparently on set. Okay, I told you, like, he's really woke, Justin Baldoni. He sages the sets and sages the air around people. So it was meant to be another stab at Justin Baldoni. Like, he did not want Justin Baldoni to be confused about who he was referring to. I am referring to you, Justin Baldoni. By the way, Skylar, while we're live, if you can find that tweet of Justin Baldoni saying that the puppy is his intimacy coordinator, just let me know in my ear. Oh, you found it. My people are amazing. Look, he wrote this. Peggy Dogpool, Mary Poppins, she goes by many names. She's obviously a very special cast member. What many don't know is that she was also the intimacy coordinator. Like, he's a psycho. He scares me. Ryan Reynolds makes me very scary. He then writes, what kind of intimacy coordinator says hello each morning by hurling her leathery 32-inch long tongue into your throat and down to the bottom of your stomach? It's like weird. He's just like trying to keep signaling to Justin Baldoni like that he's really angry. And so he's clearly the one that's demanding this intimacy coordinator. Okay, so now we're jumping back into our timeline, which I will share. We have Ryan Reynolds is on a tear. He's very angry. He's writing to Justin Baldoni. The Wayfarer Studios is completely shocked because everything was great with Blake Lively, and all of a sudden, like, Ryan gets home from filming, and he's like, now he's there. He is there, involved, screaming at Justin Baldoni, and Justin Baldoni just says sorry to him, and also, like you heard, it's just like, I didn't do some of the stuff you're saying is made up, and I think Blake Lively lied to defend herself against her husband, right? So I'm alleging that in reading this, that she just said stuff because he probably was like, why are you so intimate? I don't know, maybe he saw something. And she's like, oh, it's because they didn't get me intimacy coordinator and I'm not comfortable, actually. Like lying to protect yourself in a very scary way. And by the way, do not think she is innocent. I will show you she's not innocent. But I think at this moment, she was potentially very worried about her husband's reaction. Then we fast forward, they wrap, and she's injecting her, like, Ryan is injecting himself more. He's showing up on set. He is asking to keep seeing the dailies. He is now trying to bring his Deadpool writers and composers over on the movie. I mean, you read the lawsuit, Justin's complaint, and it's just like, it's insane. They basically just try to stage a takeover of this movie. June is when Blake Lively begins doing these screenings for It Ends With Us, and she's with Colleen Hoover and she's with Brandon Sklenar in Texas, but noticeably absent is Justin Baldoni. They force him to start conducting screenings alone. Again, this is all part of stuff that I believe behind the scenes was being orchestrated by Ryan. Basically, he does not want Ryan near his wife. He got threatened in some capacity. Well, at the same time, in June, Blake Lively starts getting bad press. Because the TikTokers are not liking the things she's saying during screenings. They're not liking the fact that Blake Lively is promoting her hair products, because look at this. Blake Lively is accused of being tone deaf as she plugs her hairline while promoting domestic abuse film, okay? So my take on this is that now, first Blake Lively is like hands off and letting Ryan do whatever. But then, and maybe Ryan put this in her head, or maybe she really believed it because she's a narcissist, I think she starts thinking that Justin Baldoni, there's no doubt she believed that Justin Baldoni was orchestrating the smear attack. She did not believe that this was natural. She cannot perceive her own unlikability. That's what a narcissist is. It's like, well, it can't be me. And so between her and Ryan, who both, I think, suffer from varying degrees of narcissism, they were like, well, obviously this is happening. because not because of you're not amazing. These hair products would obviously everyone would want to buy these. These old interviews start surfacing of Blake Lively, right? And in these interviews, Blake Lively is very rude, and everyone is going like, I don't like this girl. This is a movie about domestic violence. She's talking about her hair products, which I think it's called like Blake and Brown or Lively and Brown, whatever it is. And it was genuine feedback that her and Ryan decided to lay on the feet. And Ryan probably loved this because now he's got his wife back, right? And she's like fired up and she's like, let's take this man down. And so this is the first time that we start seeing Blake publicly. This is the first that I could find, the first example of Blake now publicly taking shots at Justin Baldoni, because she didn't in the movie Deadpool. Ryan did. She just voiceovered Lady Pool's part, and Lady Pool didn't actually have any lines which were anti-Justin Baldoni. But come July 22nd, 2024, okay, Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie premieres. Blake Lively's reputation is starting to go tick, tick, tick down. And people are not liking that she's not making her commentary about domestic violence. She seems flippant and light. And the Deadpool and Wolverine world premiere takes place at the end of July. And this is what Blake Lively posted to promote Deadpool. Look at this post now that we know the context. I mean, they're literally online effing bullies, okay? She tags Deadpool and she writes, she tags her husband and she writes, BRB, I'm buying Milky Pens to write your name on my hand. So like they're back in love. They love each other so much. My Y2K girlies, I should be competitive because the It Ends With Us movie is coming out in 3 weeks. But when your middle school obsessions, your feelings post-baby, or about nice men who use feminism as a tool, there you have it. She's talking about Justin Baldoni. And then she basically says at the bottom there, she says a bunch of other stuff that essentially you should go watch the Deadpool movie. At the bottom there, she says, it's hard not to encourage my ladies to spot all the ways that we've been influenced by the Deadpool movie. And I've never been more happy. I think that ours got like cut off here, but essentially she's letting them know that we're making fun of Justin Baldoni in this movie. And that is her first engagement that I could find of her publicly saying something. In mid-July is when she launched her Blake Brown hair products. And like I just showed you, she started getting even more terrible feedback for being tone deaf in the press. And then on August 6th, it was the It Ends With Us premiere. And this is obviously the notorious time that Baldoni was then by that time put in the basement. And again, the reason that this happened is because she kept threatening Sony behind the scenes. Like her and Ryan's thing was, I will not come. She said, I will not come. I will not do promotional tour. I will not be in the movie after they had already shot this stuff. So she is giving an ultimatum here and they are just folding. And they're like, we just need to get through this. This needs to get done. And what's funny is this on the same day of this. So, I mean, talk about Ryan really having some sort of a mental break and trying to destroy Justin Baldoni. His family's literally in the basement and it's really sad. On top of that, Ryan chose this day to drop his promotional trailer for It Ends With Us with a skit of him roasting Justin Baldoni with Hugh Jackman, the other star of Deadpool and Wolverine, and Brandon Sklenar, who is the other star of It Ends With Us. So this is an alpha move. And everything they're saying in the skit, I showed this on my Instagram, was just to mock Justin. So they're referring to Justin, his spiritual journey that he went on that he posted about in South America, the inner child healing. Again, the same stuff you're seeing in Deadpool. They're still mocking that. But then this other piece happens. And I told you it's very weird because they keep insisting that like, I don't know, that Ryan Reynolds does meth. I don't know. But he brings his mom into the skit. And I want you to listen to this because the mom is playing the part of Blake. She literally says, call me Blake at the end of this, okay? And Brandon Sklenar is supposed to be Justin Baldoni, and Ryan is playing himself Ryan. So in this skit, the way that I perceive it, since none of this is actually a joke, he is perhaps recounting a conversation, maybe a daily or something that he heard between Blake and Justin Baldoni, because he would have shot this before, obviously, and yet he saved it for the premiere. And again, Blake is nowhere to be seen. She's not in sight here. So I feel like he's again venting at Blake Lively like he was also potentially doing in that Deadpool movie. Take a listen to this promo for a movie about domestic abuse.
I don't feel very comfortable asking this question.
Nope, I got it. I'll get it. Here, I can do that. You're not going to read it? I will then. Okay, thank you very much. That's the one. It says Ryan would love to have a new dad to have a catch. And I think he could really use a man in his life. Hugh is no spring chicken anymore. Blink once for yes, or blink once for I'd love to be your new dad. He blinked. He blinked.
Is this hell?
No, it's Iowa. That's from Field of Dreams. It's one of Ryan's favorite movies because he and his late father had so much unresolved sadness. But pride got in the way, and neither of them were able to find closure. Ryan thinks Field of Dreams is a true story because he's on meth, and that drug is super scary.
Mrs. Reynolds.
Call me Blake.
Oh,
I could blow your mind, dog.
So that's weird. It is objectively weird. And he's reiterating what he said in that Deadpool scene where he's saying, first he said about the dog, like, oh, I leave for 1 second and she finds a new papa. Well, they're saying it again, right? He's saying when Ryan gets up there, he, talking about presumably his sons, that like, they need to find a new father. Like, it's like Ryan is basically accusing, in my view, via humor, Blake of trying to replace him in some capacity, maybe because he's getting older, because he is older. It's almost a decade, maybe 11 years older than her, and she just had a baby. But that is not humor. This has nothing to do with It Ends With Us, a movie about domestic violence. And he's even getting so personal as to say Ryan Reynolds and his father died in 2000. Did you know his father died in 2015 and they had unresolved issues? That's true. I fact checked that and it was true. She's like, she brings up, he thinks Field of Dreams isn't just a movie because he's on meth. Well, I can't say whether or not Ryan does drugs. He certainly acts like it because this is very, in my view, erratic behavior. And I think but I would never know whether or not it's true or false that he does drugs. But I can fact check the other elements of that. Yes, his dad died in 2015. Yes, Ryan spoke out in multiple interviews about how they had unresolved issues. In fact, he says in past interviews that the reason he has these control issues, he's very controlling, which Scarlett Johansson hinted to as a reason for the end of their marriage in an interview with Elle magazine, is because his father would come home and scream. This is, again, Ryan Reynolds opened up about this publicly. You can research it. And since then, it motivated him to just try to make things perfect and to be in constant control of things, trying to control the environment. And Field of Dreams, which is a movie that deals with the concept of like unresolved issues with the father, and also is a sports movie, is something that Ryan has mentioned multiple times in the context of, he purchased part of a football team. I'm saying football because I'm married to an Englishman. We would say soccer here. Wrexham. And when they got promoted up into the league, he cried and compared it to, here you are, this is Field of Dream stuff. Ryan Reynolds compares his historic Wrexham promotion to Kevin Costner's iconic movie as actor gets teary-eyed with a huge win. So this is not a joke. He has a thing about Field of Dreams. He also did another movie, which was about a video game, which I kind of vaguely remember, same exact thing. He spoke about how what inspired that video game and that movie was Field of Dreams, which was that 1989 movie about unresolved father issues. So nothing in that skit was fake. Apart from the one thing I can't verify potentially is why he keeps insisting that he's on meth. But it sounds to me like he stumbled upon a conversation between Blake and Justin that made him uncomfortable. Okay. Now jumping back into the timeline. Okay. So now we know he's dropped this skit. He's putting this in Deadpool. He's saying all the same stuff. And it signals to me that something happened here between Blake and Justin and he started taking over the film. Now, though, Blake Lively's on his side because she had an interview that reappeared on August 7th. She had the interview that reappeared of her being mean to people in the past, and the press is hating her. Essentially, she's going through an authentic cancellation by fans, but she thinks her husband has convinced her, and she agrees that Justin Baldoni must be behind this, and this is where they start making some big mistakes. It is this next interview that strikes me as very odd, okay? Blake Lively and the writer of the book, Colleen, I am blanking on her last name already. It's okay. What's it? Hoover. I was going to say Huntsman. It's Colleen Hoover, my producer says, appeared together in an interview on August 7th and randomly have a discussion. And this is very important for what somebody else told me. This is how we bring in Colleen Hoover. That should have flagged Colleen Hoover as very odd unless she was a part of discussions to remove Justin Baldoni from what he had rightfully purchased. Take a listen to Blake and Colleen on CNN Brazil.
And is there any chance that we could have a sequence?
What chance that you can have a what?
A sequence, like it starts with us
I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
If Colleen has her rights, I will follow this woman anywhere. Okay. Let me tell you why that makes no sense. Justin had purchased the rights to the movie and the sequel 5 years earlier, 2019. Blake Lively knows that. Colleen knows that because she sold her rights, okay? So why would she, in August, all right, when they just premiered the movie on August 6th, be making a joke about if Colleen has her rights, I'll follow her anywhere? That means there was a plan in action that was put in place in action to take the movie rights away from Justin Baldoni, and Colleen was wise to it, in my view, by August, okay? Before August. Or otherwise, she would have looked at her and been like, that's crazy. What do you mean I sold the rights? What do you mean? That's weird. Huh? What are you talking about? I sold the rights, Justin. What do you mean if I have my rights? Now, Colleen was the one that was hitting the circuit with Blake Lively for all these movie screeners. Justin was out in the cold. He did them alone. And so it seems to me that what likely happened here, so you've got Brandon, who's participating in these skits. Brandon was the first one when Blake Lively filed her complaint, by the way, to post a whole thing on Instagram about believing her and read the complaint. They've all been turned against Justin Baldoni, and I'm guessing they used a little A-list magic to do that because at the end of the day, these people in Hollywood don't have souls, okay? They always want to go up another peg. So if you are a person and you just had your books brought and you're like, okay, Justin Baldoni, nobody really knows him, like he's like not that big, but suddenly you're getting like Taylor Swift and her best friend Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and now all of a sudden you've got Wolverine showing up to set, you're being swayed by the prospect of becoming an A-lister. This is what I think Brandon Sklenar is guilty of. I think he played a part in this, and I'm thinking he is so gross because by all accounts, Justin Baldoni was unbelievably kind and great and gracious, and he cast him in this role, but people get greedy. The Hollywood types, all they think of is, am I going to become an A-lister? I want to be the next big star. I want to be in the room and get invited to Blake Lively's and Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift's birthday parties. And that's the sense that I get, that they all started going, okay. And on the back of this, I believe that Ryan is just wants to offer more money. And we know that this is the case. We know Ryan's waving around cash because in September of 2024, just the month after, Ryan attempts to buy the entire franchise. Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, willing to buy out Justin Baldoni from It Ends With Us. This comes after we hear Colleen like, no, you're not really saying anything. So the plan was already hatched. We're taking this movie from Justin Baldoni. And Justin is none the wiser. He doesn't know this is going on. He has no idea of this is happening. He's just trying to get the film over the finish line. It is stunning to me that he's put in the basement with his family and like Brandon didn't go down to sit with him. Like there was not a good person that said, you know what, this is really wrong. He's held this and the rights for 5 years and has like done everything to bring this movie to life. And we're treating him like trash because A-listers want to take it over because Ryan Reynolds is angry. And guess what? They turned him down. They said you can't buy it. And so what happens then, obviously, is that we then fast forward to December 20th, 2024, and Blake Lively then drops her sexual harassment complaint. And I am telling you, here's where it gets super interesting so that you guys can pull this all together. Somebody said to me, and this feels very true to me, they leaked to me that one of the ways, so if you're Ryan Reynolds and you're high, I'm not saying on meth, but you're just like high on your own supply, and you try to buy it and you say, no, there's no cost too high. bet you there's a cost too high, buddy. You got a lawsuit of $400 million right now. I'm thinking there might have been a cost too high for this movie and you're about to pay it, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Deadpool. And Justin says no, and you're like, who is this guy? I'm worth $200, $300 million. Who is this guy? I'll get rid of him one way or the other. Well, somebody told me that when Colleen sold her book rights, there was and this makes sense, morality clause. Now, if you're not aware of what a morality clause is, I've had them in my contracts. It means essentially we're paying you enough money and you can have this. Obviously, it's a normal sale. But if you do something that harms the brand, we have a right to dismiss you. Doesn't matter if you bought it, okay? So this could include like, Candace Owens works for Prairie University and then Candace Owens, gets arrested for doing cocaine, gets filmed doing cocaine at a party, right? That would be very harmful to a conservative brand. If I'm caught doing drugs, Candace Owens shooting up meth, whatever it is, they can just drop you from a contract. That's called a morality clause, okay? And apparently this person says to me that Justin Baldoni's morality clause basically said that if there was any sort of sexual harassment, that would be one of the things that they could revoke the deal and take the sequel from him. So what does that tell us? What does that mean? Assuming this is true, and it would be weird if it wasn't true that there wouldn't be a morality clause. Again, you don't want to hand over your franchise to someone, have them do something ridiculous, and then realize that you can't produce the sequel because this person has been canceled for something that was amoral. Like, you have to have these clauses in place. What that should signal to all of us is that clearly, and I believe, this is my belief, again, my opinion, that Ryan Reynolds began orchestrating immediately a plan to essentially stage what could be akin to a hostile takeover of the movie. And in order to complete this, to complete a hostile takeover company, you have to have allies, okay? You have to have people, other board members, essentially, that are on your page. Well, he got Brandon Sklenar, who I think has the thinnest skin ever. He grosses me out now. You're like a bad man. I mean, just like not standing up for a guy that you know was a good guy. What's that, Skylar? Yeah. Oh my God, that's really funny. My producer just said, look at his hand. He's not even touching Blake in the photo because he knows. He's like, yeah, I don't want to get taken down too. So you've got Brandon Sklenar, who cares about nothing but his career, okay, and is willing to literally make fun of the man who brought this book to the screen so that he can appease A-listers. This is a coward. He is pathetic. You've got Colleen, who potentially just got offered more money. Potentially, if he said, I'm willing to pay no matter what to take this film, and Justin said, no, thank you. Well, maybe Justin bought the rights for $1 million. Well, then he's saying, I'll pay $5 million to watch him suffer, potentially. And Colleen's like, whoa, that would be a huge, it's a bit different. Yeah, I wrote this book. I sold the rights for, I'm going to times 5 my profits. She could have been purely motivated by profit to say, okay, let's go. Let's play the game. Yeah, we have a sexual, let's go through it. I think the lawyers need to simultaneously ask for a preservation order for Colleen's messages as well. I do. I think there's something there because she was also one of the first ones to unfollow him. And that's like their mark. That's like the mark of the Ryan Reynolds, like mass unfollows. Like that's like the Taylor Swift thing they did to Joe Alwyn. Mass unfollows to show like I'm with her. Brandon, you're a coward. You're the worst in the entire story to me, actually. You're like, now that I'm digging into this, like Brandon's kind of grosses me out. Like he's not a man's man. And he's also not a woman's man. Because he's actually defending a puny man, which is Ryan Reynolds, if my perspective is true, and I think it is, looking up his timeline, a puny man who is insecure about his younger wife and is trying to alpha him by being like, I'm an A-lister and I have more money than you. And he does. So Brandon was looking at a bigger payday, potentially also motivated by money. He's like, I'll pay anything. There's no price too high that I will pay for this film. And he gets shut down. He's probably like, what are you making on this film? Are you making $500K? I'll pay you $4 million. $10 million for the next film. I'm Ryan Reynolds. I have $200 million, $300 million in the bank. So they're all now willing to turn, in my view, on Justin Baldoni, who did nothing wrong. Hence the reason they're willing to put up every single text message onto a lawsuit. And all of a sudden, Ryan wants this entire situation gagged. They all plotted. And Blake's involvement in this is stupid. First off, just an incredibly jealous, controlling husband. But secondly, because she really thought that her hair products didn't do good because of Justin Baldoni. This is a real headline. 87% loss for Blake's hair products. She thinks it's Justin, as indicated in her complaints, because of a coordinated smear campaign. This woman is so basic that she's upset that her hair products didn't do well. She's like, no, he's absolutely a monster. Like, we absolutely must blame Justin Baldoni for the fact, because there's just no way that people don't like my hair products. And that is what I believe happened. And now they are in huge trouble. I am thrilled to watch this happen. I'm thrilled that they accidentally stepped on Steve Sarowitz, a billionaire guy who wants to give away $1 billion for funsies. I'm so glad it's him. I love this guy. I don't even know this guy. Okay, like I said, they're both so woke. It's crazy that I'm defending these two. But like, I'm like a Steve Sarowitz fan. I just love a guy who wants to give away $1 billion. And like, that's like alpha. Like, I just picture like him alpha around on Deadpool, making fun of people. I'm so rich, I'm gonna buy them. There's no price too high. And Sarowitz says, how about 400 mil? You got 400 mil? That's double your net worth, homie. You got 400 mil. That's what I'm suing you for now. Love it. I love it. It's a guilty pleasure when like the people who scream about social justice actually meet real justice, like just like, oh, hi, it's actually like real justice. And so that's the skinny. I can't believe I'm still talking to you guys about this. This is crazy. I'm like deep in the trenches of this, and I will not be letting go of it. Again, we've got 77,000 people watching live right now. We're in here. We're here. We're going with Ryan. Ryan, you can't gag this. I'm sorry, okay? There's no gag order we're putting in place. We are going with you to the courthouse. Do not drop this lawsuit, okay? I need to report on this. This is my lawsuit now. And by the way, guys, just to be super clear, I have not spoken to any party involved in this lawsuit. Clearly, I am not friends with Justin Baldoni, Trans Visibility Day Baldoni, who seems like a very nice guy. We would probably have a nice conversation, but we are not friends. And I am not talking to Sarowitz. I am not talking to Blake, Ryan, nothing. People leaking stuff from sets and this and that. But I got no horse in this race other than to see Hollywood brought to its knees, because you shouldn't behave like this. And I don't like the way Ryan Reynolds is behaving. I can't wait to get to your guys' questions. First, I'm going to tell you, you're probably thinking, Candace, your skin looks amazing. That's what you're thinking right now, right? And I know if I dropped a skincare brand, it could never go wrong. And if it did go wrong, it would be Justin Baldoni's fault, because he orchestrated a smear campaign. I can do no wrong. Well, let me tell you guys about the skincare products I use. Nimi Skincare. There's no better time than now to refresh your routine, set new intentions, and step into a healthier, more confident you. So if you're ready to invest in self-care, that truly makes a difference. Nimi Skincare has something special to help you greet the year with glowing skin and renewed spirits. Right now, if you use code Candace10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order, whether you're treating yourself or helping someone else start the new year on the right foot. This is your chance to try Nimi's luxurious skincare at a great price. Nimi Skincare is more than a product. It's a brand that you can feel proud to support, because every item is made here in the USA, and it reflects the values, therefore, of faith, family, and freedom. So if you're looking for skincare that's extra gentle, Nimi also has a line of clean formulas that's free of fragrance and other potential irritants, which is a thoughtful choice for anyone seeking a gentler approach. So be sure to use code Candace10 today at NimiSkincare.com. It cannot fail, or we blame Justin Baldoni. You go to NimiSkincare.com, that's Nimi Skincare.com, and you'll save 10% on your purchases. And if I check and you did not do that after this show, I'm going to file a lawsuit, a complaint against Justin Baldoni in the state of California. So be sure to start 2025 with NimiSkincare.com. All right, guys, I can't wait to see your comments. That was a lot of stuff that I had to say. There's more. I'm dropping all of this. I can't wait to see the chat. It was like, someone said Brett is back. I know, Brett Cooper returns. We actually have her trailer. I'm going to read some of your comments, and we're going to drop Brett Cooper's trailer. I loved it. It made me want to cry for my girl. I don't know why. It was happy tears. Happy tears. I'm just so proud of her, stepping out on her own. And I just know what she's feeling, because you're just like, the audience really love me? Is everything going to be okay? Anyways, top comment here regarding first illegal immigration. Ben Coyne writes, Ireland has a huge illegal immigration problem. In 2023, Dublin had riots over a young girl being stabbed, I remember this, by an illegal. It woke and a lot in Ireland up to just how bad the issue in our government is. Yeah, well, people that want never-ending wars, by the way, this is also not left and right, because the Republicans are now like war hawks, and they want never-ending wars. And when you have never-ending wars, they have to dump everybody off in people's countries, right? So the people that pretend to be like outraged about illegal immigration and all about all these migrants who simultaneously are like, yeah, BB, just keep sending everybody everywhere after you bomb the places like Israel and Zelensky, they can miss me with the hypocrisy. I have no tolerance for it. You should both be against wars, because we need to stop sending all of these people into random people's countries. I mean, the entire problem in the UK, I believe, it can be directly traced to the wars that are being fought in the Middle East. What we did in Libya, don't even start. Libya, Afghanistan, like, why are all these migrants in the UK? Well, who are the people that are bombing these countries? Why are they not staying at their own places? When you take out Gaddafi, and then a bunch of Libyans suddenly want to come into the UK, and you go, well, no, bombing Gaddafi was fine. Or like right now, what's happening with the Palestinians, it's like, you gotta put two and two together. Lowhash writes, consider this chat my intimacy coordination. Thank you so much for the tip, Lowhash. Yes, thank you. I will be needing these. Joseph Sagar writes, thank you for exposing them all. Christ is king. Yes, truth is king. Jesus is king. Amen. Belle Eve writes, this makes so much sense. So then why would T Swift be so involved in directly supporting Ryan's controlling behavior over Blake? I don't know. The Taylor Swift question is an interesting one. I mean, first and foremost, they are friends, and I think your first instinct is to want to help your friend. Like I said, Blake is not a victim in this. She jumped on board with this like sexual harassment bit because she was mad about her hair products failing. I love that part. That's the best part. And she was like, no. He's like, yeah, baby. Justin Baldoni did this to your hair's beautiful. Of course they would have bought this if it wasn't for this. And they was like, no, people really were angry at her for just being her. Justin Baldoni didn't coordinate anything behind the scenes. Taylor Swift, this is her brand of feminism, leaving Easter eggs, putting stuff in movies like Deadpool. Like, you look at this now and you're like, well, I'm outraged by what Ryan Reynolds did. But this is the same thing Taylor Swift does in her music. Like, the men are not able to defend themselves. And you have like scores of 12-year-old girls who hate them forever and sing along to songs like dissing them. And we only hear one side. So this whole idea of like taking your art to vent your anger, your frustration, or your hurt, it's pretty on brand, I think. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens to Taylor Swift. She could have just been supporting her friend when she wasn't comfortable, but then she definitely got behind her when she was like, no, like this is I still believe in my heart of hearts with absolutely no evidence that she was the one that helped them get that piece written, the unbelievably stupid piece that the New York Times decided to write, not realizing they were stepping on the toes of another billionaire. That's going to be an interesting, definitely going to settle case, because they acted with true malice, and there's no question about that. It's just, talk about a reckless disregard of the facts. Read through Justin Baldoni's 179-page lawsuit, and you will definitively see that. All right, who else do we have? Ms. Dana writes, Hollywood is so delusional, it's quite scary, and they wonder why they have any more influence on people because they are way off in La La Land. So true. Fiat no more. That said flat no mo. Candace, your research team is the best in the game. So many receipts. If you're complaining about Candace spending time in the story, remember all politics are downstream from culture. Oh yeah, you ain't gonna get me off of the story. Like I said, like I just have sons, and I have to see it through. I always have to see it through when these things happen. I was the same way with the Amber Heard thing, and I now need this to go to court. And I need to testify for no reason. Like, call me on the stand, and I'm going to be like, okay, here's what I know, and I'm just an outside researcher. And by the way, we don't have a research team. Like, this is sadly how obsessed I've been with this case. Just been looking into it myself and rewatching clips. And my producer Skylar, I was like, wait, pull up the Deadpool scene, and then I made the whole team this morning. In our living room, we just sat down, and I said, let's watch the beginning of It Ends With Us, because I knew that Ryan Reynolds had rewritten that scene. I wasn't sure why he rewrote that scene. Maybe he felt they were given too much emotion. I don't know, but I found that interesting that he rewrote that first scene. Shades of D. Gray writes, if Hugh Jackman was leaving his wife, maybe Ryan thought, maybe Blake will leave me too. Yeah, I think he just is tremendously insecure. Like, that is without question. And it is true that Hugh Jackman also left his wife. I think her name's like Deborah Furness. I don't know. These two also give me weird vibes, right? It's like weird vibes. I don't know. I don't like Ryan Reynolds. His forehead is just way too Botox. It makes me uncomfortable. And men that get Botox in their forehead should not be trusted. They shouldn't. I mean, this is just one of these scientific facts of life. Men age very nicely, and they look nice when they get older. So when there's a man who's trying to reverse that or stop that, I don't know. It just sends a really bad signal. Abigator writes, I think Selena Gomez and Bieber's relationship was a PR stunt to sell music. They have too many songs about each other, and Selena's singing is subpar. Yeah, I would put it even more sub than par. More sub than subpar. I really don't like her voice, but I don't think it was a PR relationship. I think it was real. They were super cute for a while. And then her fans just would not allow them to not be together. They were like, no, you will be married forever. And I think it was good for him to move on with Hailey Bieber. And it's good to see that she's moved on and that she's happy. Well, I know she's not happy because she's crying on Instagram at the moment. But in general, she's happy. Mexican flag. Ileana writes, I believe undocumented workers who have been here for 10 plus, 15 plus years and have abided by the law and paid taxes shouldn't get deported, but rather be proposed an immigration reform. What do you think? I think we can get to that problem last. I do think we should start with just the millions that have come across the border. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about like DACA, kids that were in under DACA, which I think Trump was open to in his first term. But let's start with the criminals, the millions that just came in, pretending like this is just not your home. And by then we can have a discussion, open it up about whether or not you've been here for 15 years. But here's one rule. If you don't speak English after 15 years, you got to go. That's even more ridiculous. You come in and learn nothing about this culture. I'm like, if you've been here for 15 years, you didn't even learn how to say hello. Get out of here. It's going to be real bad when I'm president because I'm going to be pregnant. Pregnant Candace presidency is going to be ugly. All right, guys, I want to show you this Brett Cooper trailer. First, I want to remind you about American financing because I know the average person finds it difficult to pay expenses every single month. And in most cases, there is nothing left over to cover any extras. Most Americans are not getting a big raise. Expenses are up, and it's very hard to manage without using credit cards. If you are a homeowner and you're frustrated with that cycle, I need you to make a 10-minute no-obligation call today. You can call my friends at American Financing. If you're carrying a credit card balance each month with a rate in the 20s or even 30s, American Financing can show you how to put your hard-earned equity to work and get you out of debt. Their salary Missouri-based mortgage consultants are saving their customers an average of $800 a month. And if you get started today, you may not even have to make the next month's mortgage payment. There are no upfront fees, so it costs nothing to find out how much you could be saving every month. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. Again, that number is 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens today. Friday's episode was about Brett Cooper, who has been under attack from the media. Makes me angry, trying to smear a 23-year-old young woman as a anti-Semite is just so despicable. I just can't even understand it. Just wring the mainstream media's neck. Do it to me. I want to fight. I want to fist fight the mainstream media. Do not do it to the sweet, lovable, adorable Brett Cooper, who has announced that she's coming back. She dropped an amazing trailer, and I don't know. I'm just so happy for her. And here is the trailer. It is going to be called The Brett Cooper Show, and here she is.
After weeks of speculation, Brett Cooper has left.
Well, it looks like the rumors were true.
Brett Cooper's departure has caused quite a stir.
The internet is absolutely melting down.
Brett Cooper did, in fact, announce her exit.
Brett Cooper announces she is leaving the Daily Wire.
Brett Cooper is officially leaving the Daily Wire.
She is walking away.
Brett Cooper has left.
She is gonzo.
Brett Cooper says,
I'm out of here.
And now Brett Cooper has nearly 500,000 subscribers without a single video yet.
She already has a channel. There's now at 500,000 subs.
If you look at her numbers, Brett Cooper is popping off.
She has one of the fastest growing YouTube channels.
But what's the end all be all for Brett Cooper?
The big question on a lot of our minds is, what is she going to do next?
The world you desired can be won. It exists, it is real, it is possible, it's yours. But to win it requires your total dedication and a total break with the world of your past. Fight for the value of your person. Fight for the virtue of your pride. Fight with the radiant certainty and the absolute rectitude of knowing that yours is the morality of life and that yours is the battle for any achievement, any valor, any grandeur, any goodness, any joy that has ever existed on this earth.
Are you ready, Brett?
I'm ready.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Just kidding. Selena Gomez is crying. I just texted her. I'm like, not Selena Gomez. I texted Brett and I was like, I'm premiering your trailer right now. I'm so excited for her. Anyways, you guys pivot over. You can watch that. And lastly, for our Candace cups, if you're enjoying all this content, all of the research that I'm doing, the investment that I'm making, you can support this show by ordering an Everything is Fake and Gay Candace cup. Just go to clubcandace.com. And you can have this in purple. Everything is fake and gay, because it is. Everything. Now, there's not even one thing that's real and straight. It's everything's fake and gay. You too. We had such a great episode today. I can't believe we're 77 minutes in. We had like 77,000 people watching live. I love you guys. I love you. I love you back. You know me. I'll see you tomorrow.